specific issues that you can relay, I can absolutely go ahead and talk with you about those.
Okay, I got a question. How long would it take for the city to make all the handicap ramps in the city of Boston accessible for elderly and handicapped
I
people?
honestly do not have an answer for you for that. I am personally a social worker by training. I don't have the engineering experience. I would want to pass that question on to our engineering staff who actually would have a better idea.
Okay. The other question is, I know the city of Boston had a hefty settlement they had to deal with in court. Can you tell me the figure amount of how many?
So it's not a monetary settlement. It was an agreement with some local disability advocates to make 1,600 intersections fully ADA compliant per year until we can address all of the intersections in the city.
So it's a 1,600 ADA compliant intersections per year. That is that correct?
Correct.
So are they working on the second year right now?
We began work on the first year that this year.
So this is the first year. So
Yes, sir.
what were they doing last year?
So the city is always working on intersections. We're always trying to improve accessibility. It does take time and effort to work on each individual intersection. So we absolutely have improved a number of intersections last year that were not related to the settlement.
Now, is it done on a case by case scenario, or how's it
Yeah,
done?
yeah. So each location has to be individually assessed and surveyed. So we don't we can't just blanket make every 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 curb on an intersection on an entire street
Okay,
accessible. They do have to be. It is an individual project.
so they come out, they survey it, they figure out whether they need to make an accessible ramp there or not.
Not whether or not that they need to put a ramp there, but how to put a ramp there. It's the as much as each intersection looks like it is the same, a carbon copy.
Uh huh.
That's not the case. Each
Right.
individual, the work that actually has to be done, the slope of the ramp, the issues under the curb, what the sidewalk situation is, that has to be individually done.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed there's some ramps that were done previously, and they've done them over again because the slopes were not the correct slopes, and the landings weren't the proper landings. But they had those specs from the previous ADA compliant rules. I'm trying to figure how they got it wrong the first time.
So that is because it's not the way because Boston is such an old city. We have we aren't working with clean, pristine situations where we're just building new ramps and that's done. It's there's a lot of different issues that come up with each individual ramp. So it's really difficult to just say just make a blanket statement and say this is how this ramp needs to be built to get to this spec that we want.
Okay. I have a question. I don't know if you have the answer for it. They've done a pretty good job doing the ramps in the Back Bay area. Is it possible they can adopt that design for the rest of the city, or do they have to keep changing it by different city within the city of Boston?
So the actual specs that they're trying to get to, what the correct slope of the ramp, what the correct length is, all of those are what the standards are under the ADA.
Right.
But what each individual, like I mentioned, what each individual actual curb ramp, what actually needs to be done for each individual curb ramp to get there, that is very different. So I honestly don't know the specific technical answer to can they adopt that process for the curbs in other parts of the city. I don't know, but I wouldn't believe so.
Oh, well, I understand that if you're on a hill, it's a different slope, and it's a different level. I understand that's different, but as far as the level ramps, the ones that are street level, that they're not on a hill, and they're not horizontal, just completely well, just say completely flat. Put it that way. Now, could they possibly adapt a uniform ramp that works for every city that way?
I don't know for sure. Like I mentioned, that is another question I'd like to have. I'd like to have our architect or one of the city engineers answer for you, because I honestly don't know what the specific issues are that go into it.
Okay, because I know I've been around the city and I see they got different styles of ramps. They got different slopes. They have different platforms, so they're not all particularly uniform in the same order.
Correct.
So my question is, why are they all different if they're still supposed? Sorry, if they're still supposed to be following the same ADA compliant rules.
Because the general answer to that question is the actual issue, the conditions that are around that to each of those different curbs is different. The specs on what the slope is supposed to be, and all of that, like I said, are in the guidelines. But what has to be done to get there with the existing conditions changes.
And that falls in the engineer's hands when they have to.
That's a much more technical question than I personally would be able to answer.
Now I got another maybe technical question or not. Is it the same engineer that's doing all the designs throughout the city of Boston, or are there several different engineers?
No, because so the city's transportation engineers are supervising the work, but to maintain the pace that we have been asked to do, then we do contract out to different construction teams to do the actual work.
Now, do those different construction teams have the same specs that's required by the ADA and all ramps?
Yes, like I said, sir, the actual conditions the accessible conditions that we're trying to get to are the same.
Okay.
Those are the same across the board. The actual conditions that we're working with and what has to be changed from curb to curb, that is different. That is from project to project.
Okay. Well, I'm going to keep an eye on it because I've been watching the work they've been doing around the city. I noticed certain ramps have different slopes. They're at different locations. They move some from one side to the other side. So I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I'll report back to you what I see.
All right. You're more than welcome to do that.
But the most concern I have right now is Albany Street and Randall Street. That one hasn't been...
Like I mentioned, that question I am going to pass on to our architecture team and ask them to check on that project and get back to you.
Okay, sure. And they have my name, they have my phone number, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, nice talking to you. I'll keep in touch.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, thanks. Bye. All right, Nez Porter, I'm just trying to keep government officials accountable, make sure the money is being well spent. Look like a lot of handicap ramps were being done over like 3 or 4 different times. In some areas that should have handicap ramps never had them in the first place. So what I'm doing, I'm kind of doing the job of the city, pointing out ramps that haven't been done in over 30 years. And give them a little brief list, and I'm going to keep calling back and checking to see what's going on. Till next time, guys, Nez Porter. Catch you on the next one.